This is Full Steam, a series profiling some of the most influential people in the Irish tech scene, all of whom just happen to be women. Over the coming weeks, we'll meet the likes of the MD of Microsoft Ireland and the Irish Data Protection Commissioner. But my guest today is Anne O'Leary. She's a regular participant in triathlons around the country, has studied in business schools such as Harvard, and is a big champion of diversity and equality in the workplace. She's worked in Vodafone Ireland for 11 years and is currently the CEO. Anne O'Leary, thank you so much for your time. Anyone who knows about Vodafone will know about you. You're very synonymous with the brand, but I don't know much about you, the person, aside from the fact that you're from Cork, because you know, anytime you open your mouth, that's the first thing we hear. What was life like growing up in Cork? Whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Beaumont, or Blackrock, so 4 kids, only girl, 3 brothers, so an older brother than me and then 2 younger boys. And it was a lovely childhood. I think it was probably nice being an only girl. You have that special relationship with your father. You probably get away with more. And, you know, I went to the local school, Beaumont. I ran up there in the morning in primary and ran home at lunchtime, you know. I just remembered as happy, hung around in each other's gardens, spent a lot of time out of the house, as you did then. Like my mother didn't work, she stayed at home, and most of my friends' mothers were the same. So it was very easygoing, trusting, relaxed environment.
And so were you a naturally sporty child? Because we know that sport plays a big part in your life now. Having 3 brothers, was that part of your life?
It's funny, it wasn't ball sports. And I'm not sure because I was never any good at it, or I didn't go to ball sport lessons. So I was a swimmer. So I started swimming at a young age, and there was a family, a kind of a famous family living up the road who were big into swimming and all competitive swimmers. So one of the daughters there, I used to go to all the training sessions with her. So I think the swimming was the main thing. I also did a lot of dance, did ballet and tap dancing, Irish dancing and drama. So there was a local drama, Blackrock drama group who used to do kind of the Christmas plays. And I was very involved in that, and I loved being on the stage. So I think the combination of the swimming was the sporting bit, and then I think the drama really helped me be comfortable later on, talking in front of crowds. I encourage all my friends to have their children do that, so it's not such a big issue.
And were you like a loud child in general, or did you have to shout louder because there was 4 of you in the house? I'm one of 4 as well, and I'm probably the quietest of the 4 in our household. But did you have to kind of make yourself heard, or were they very attentive to you because you're the only girl?
You know, I think I was an extrovert. I think I probably was heard. And so I don't remember that, but I think being an only girl with 3 boys, I probably did get a fair share of voice and was probably minded a bit better when they weren't allowed to go near the sister, when they'd be all kind of fighting with each other. And I had a lot of good girlfriends, so I spent a lot with my friends actually out of the house. My younger brother said, "You were never at home, you were always up the road in friends' houses with them." So it was, I remember, as kind of a nice, easygoing childhood with not a lot of pressure and a lot of enjoyment.
Did you know what you wanted to be when you grow up? Like, did you have a clear vision of, you know, when I'm a grown up, this is what I'm going to do to make money?
Absolutely not.
Oh, really?
I mean, there was no talk in my house about that or what you need to be. I mean, completely different nowadays when I see young teenage girls and they come to me for advice, or my friends' daughters. Oh no, it was not at all about that. My mother had decided that I was going to be a nurse because she thought that was a good vocation and a good job for any young girl. And of course she was right. However, it is a vocation, and I don't think I would have been a very good nurse. I'm one of these people, you know, if you're sick, sure, you'll be all right, you know, just get up and get on with it. So up to my leaving cert, I was going to be a nurse, and I was going for the interview for nursing, And the day before I said to my mother, what am I doing? No, that's not for me. And she was distraught, actually, and quite disappointed because she didn't understand the business world. And I think from then on, she's been quite alarmed or surprised at the different roles that I've done. So no, believe it or not, that wasn't it. And it was just getting into business, getting into big companies and seeing the opportunities that are there, seeing the investment in your learning and development, and really trying to do the best I could do in every job I did, and opportunities being given and afforded to me.
What was it about business? Was it just the going in and exploring and see where you end up, or did you have a particular company or a particular role in mind?
No.
Really?
No, my first job was with Nixdorf Computer on the South Mall, and people say, you really shouldn't say that name because it really makes you really old. But, and I went in there kind of doing administration roles and went on to do kind of sales and marketing. But no, but I had this very strong work ethic, and I'm very collaborative, and I wanted to do the really best job I could do because I felt really grateful for having a job and for getting paid every month. So I went in with that attitude and really did my best. And what happens in these large companies, people see that and they give you more responsibility and they give you more training and they give you more development and more opportunities. And with that, that's actually what happened. You know, I went from Nixdorf to Western Digital at the time, and then over to London. I worked in Reuters and then came back and worked for the Golden Pages, which I say was the Google of its time, because it really was selling advertising. And that again was, you know, I mean, my boyfriend at the time, who's my husband now, I remember he's an accountant, and he said to me, now he did say sales and marketing people can make as much as a CEO. And he said, you can sell ideas to people. You know, if I bought the latest makeup, I'd recommend it to my friends and they'd all buy it. So he was saying, you have this skill, so maybe you should look at it. So I went down the marketing and sales area and I was successful in that.
What did you do in college though? What did you end up doing in college?
So I studied marketing and CIT by night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then from that, I went on to do other things like London Business School and Harvard, because you get into these businesses and they say, oh God, we need to give you more. And I had this opportunity to do that, and I've kind of kept lifelong learning with that. I've just finished my Chartered Directors Programme. So it really has been an unusual way to the top. It's probably not the way now where you'd say to young girls, well, you need to go to university and study something that you like and then maybe specialise. So that's what happened. So
you just threw in Harvard there like it was, you know, doing the weekly shop. How did you end up at Harvard and what did you do there?
When you go into big companies and maybe if you don't have, you know, the traditional degree, they say, well, maybe you should have more learning and development. And I went off for a month and did that. I went to London Business School. Actually, we're talking about looking at another opportunity, maybe doing a 3-month stint there, which will really, it's like a real deep MBA probably in a shorter space of time, but with the latest thinking and the best professors and surrounded by multicultural people from all industries. So I probably will look at doing that sometime next year.
With
again.
All your free time?
Well, I'll just make the time.
And do you go back to Cork much?
Of course. Well, my mum was there up to May of this year, and last year she died, passed away, but she was down there, so I visit her a lot. But I also have 2 brothers and nephews, and I have a whole host of friends, and I keep close to them. My friends are key to me. I also have a house in West Cork, so I holiday there 3 weeks a year in the summer, and I go down some of the bank holidays weekends. So absolutely, it's home.
I was at the Look the Business event last year, and you every year get up on stage and you give a little speech and you kind of rally the troops, and all the women in the room sit up a bit straighter when you come off stage. But that was soon after your mother passed away, and you mentioned it. What impact did losing your mum have on you? Did it sort of make you reassess your work-life balance? Did it, you know, when you look back at it now, what impact did it have?
Well, I suppose because of that and other things, 2018 was a really tough year. And I think what it gave me is a much greater awareness of the importance of empathy in leadership and how things like grief can affect people. So we talk a lot about bring your whole self to work, so that people come to work and they can be themselves. And that really was around gender and LGBT, etc. And, you know, making sure we're respectful and inclusive, but also to understand the personal setbacks that people have. And I was very upset by the death of my mother because it was so sudden. And I was suffering from grief. And some mornings I didn't feel like going to work, but I had to go to work. And I sometimes think I couldn't bring my whole self to work. I actually had to bring half of myself to work, and I had to try and leave that bit because I had to perform, and I had to support, and I had to run a business. So I think my speech at the Glass was about, in this ever-changing world, this demanding world, that there is a real space for kindness and empathy. And as a leader, to ensure we're asking our people, how are you today? How really are you? And someone can say, actually, I'm having a bad time. And we can just support them or be aware that they may not be firing on all cylinders. But, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be vulnerable. So I think as a leader, it gave me a much bigger insight into setbacks and the understanding, and that we need to support each other, and that we're all not rock solid. And we do have personal and professional setbacks. So I think it was a good learning for me, and it's made me more aware. And at all my one-on-ones with people, I always ask them, you know, not work first. How are you? How's life? How are things? Because I think it can affect people's performance and how they turn up at work if they're upset or something else is going on.
I've heard you say the, you know, bring your whole self to work thing before. How do you ensure that that's not just like an Oprah Winfrey-like slogan, that it is something that people can sort of clutch onto and be in the workplace?
Well, you know, it's respecting, so whether it's a gender thing, you know, if you want to be female and be a woman, you can. If you want to dress, you know, femininely, and you want to speak about the interests that you're interested in, whether it's shopping or shoes, that it's okay. You know, I grew up in an environment that, you know, really I had to kind of become like the man. You know, I worked in a very male-dominated environment where the men were really nice and really supportive. But, you know, I wore trouser suits, I had cufflinks, I didn't want to be feminine because I felt that might show a weakness. So
the table was set for a man, basically, when you started it.
Exactly, and to blend in and to be accepted. You know, I used to follow soccer, I was a mad Man United fan, because that's what the conversations were about. So you either got with the programme or you maybe felt isolated. And by the way, that was fine for me, but not every woman will be able to do that. So that's the thing about people being able to talk about things that they're interested in, and people giving each other the space and the time to respect our differences so that people feel included in the conversation. You know, and whether it was the pub or the golf years ago that went on, you know, what is it now? I think it's less that, but what are the conversations that are happening? How can we just make sure that everyone feels welcome?
Did you face any of those sort of big awkward moments in your career path? Because you were working in male-dominated spaces from a young age, so in sales, then you mentioned that you were working in telecoms as well. Did you encounter that awkwardness? Did you feel that you were changing yourself to blend in? Did you excuse things that shouldn't have been excused?
I mean, definitely from my perspective, I did have more kind of male behaviours to blend in. And I did wear, in my 30s, trouser suits. And I did go into meetings where there could have been 18 men and just me. And going into the meeting, I'm going, how am I going to survive this? Because just the kind of testosterone or competitiveness, I felt tension is the word. And I remember coming back from one meeting and going to my CEO, no normal woman would be able to survive it. Like, it was a test of resilience. it wasn't, you know, sexual harassment or anything inappropriate. It was just a culture and environment that's very hard to explain. You know, but it's compared to now where you have diversity, like in Vodafone, you know, we'd have 50-50 percentage, that you have introverts and extroverts, you have male opinions, female opinion, you have age, you have capability. So everyone gets to say their piece, people are listened to, there's no dominant voice or dominant behaviour. So it just wasn't a great productive environment. So you know, people said to me, but why did you do it? I said, because I probably wouldn't have survived. I'd have been exited, or maybe wouldn't have got the next job. Or maybe it was my own insecurity. I don't know what it is, but I wanted to be judged on my work and the results I delivered, and I was. And just to call out as well though, you know, most of my bosses were male at the time, and you know, the majority of them were mentors, sponsors and supporters of me, and I would have never got to the CEO of Vodafone without their encouragement and support. But sometimes just the atmospheres that were created through having 90% male around the table is not healthy. And we know from all the research that gender diversity is the key diversity piece to start with. And if you don't have that, it's really, really hard for a business.
And so is that one of the reasons why you do pride yourself on the 50-50 balance, and you know, you have all these stats of the gender balance at every stage of your management team? Is that why it's so important to you?
Absolutely. So when I joined Vodafone about 11 years ago now, I set up the Women's Network. And I said, and that was even before its time. And at the time people said to me, why would you do that? And why would you help anyone else? Which I thought was very interesting. And
that's very telling of them though, rather than of you.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I, you know, send the elevator down. And I actually said, because you know what, not all women are as resilient as I am. And some of them might just go, I'm not putting up with this, I'm getting out of here. And that's what ultimately happens. I'm not putting up with this environment, you know. So I want to have a network where women could learn about their personal presence, learning about leaning in, ask questions, get support, get mentorship, hear my story, hear that what's going on isn't right and what they need to do about it. And really, it's been a huge sense of pride for me now. And I really focused on our outcomes and our targets, ensuring that at every level of the organisation we had gender balance and gender split, and for every manager to make sure that their team is diverse. And it's been a 10-year, and now, you know, we're market leading in terms of that. And because of it, it's a really nice environment and really nice culture. And we have superior business results in terms of revenue growth, EBITDA growth, innovation.
But you know that there will be people who are watching this or hearing this and they'll roll their eyes to the sky going, you know, women. Like, you know, just tick box ticking, you know, they're doing it for the sake of it, or they're doing it because it looks good. What do you say to those people who say, well, actually, if you look at the statistics, you know, women go on maternity leave, so blah, 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 blah.
Like, sorry, like if they look at the statistics are that boards and companies with better gender diversity do better. They are better, but they're more sustainable, they have higher revenue growth, higher profitability, and it reflects society. So, you know, if people say that, it really is ignorance. And anyone that works in a gender diverse organisation, on a board, or know the results and see the results. And I hear it from men and women all the time. The difference it made, the different opinions, the different voices, the different ideas, how it drives innovations, the questions. You know, what did Lagarde say? If Lehman Brothers was Lehman Sisters, we'd have seen more prudence. We would not have seen the financial crisis that was there. And so diversity, gender diversity, diversity of thought, diversity of capabilities, you know, anyone that's still questioning it, you know. And yes, someone has to have the babies. And at the moment, it's only the women. So, you know, brilliant, yeah. Right? And we need a sustainable future. We need youth. We need young population. We need it for pension. So yes, they have to have babies. So we need to facilitate that like we do in Vodafone with our policies we have. We've global policies in our 26 countries. We do everything we can to keep women working while they have children. We do everything we can in our policies to, facilitate women coming back to work. They come back after their maternity policy and they work 4 days. They get paid 5 days for the first 6 months. We have flexible working. They can take term time holidays. We give them the tools to work from anywhere. But these policies are for our men too. And in the world of real equality now, like a lot of my friends, where men are sharing the housework and the parental duties, the men love it. No meetings before 9 o'clock or after 5 for men or women.
I want to talk briefly, you mentioned that you've been in Vodafone 11 years now. When you were appointed CEO, was that a big change going from the role you were in, which was very senior, to suddenly being the head honcho?
Well, it was, I'll be honest with you. So I was enterprise director. Traditionally, enterprise people do not get the CEO job. It's usually consumer people. So, and I was the first Irish person to be appointed. So it was a brave decision, I think, by Vodafone. And I'll be honest with you, I did go, oh my God, when I was appointed, am I going to be found out? Am I actually going to be able to do the role? So like everyone, you have questions about it. And actually what was interesting is coming up, I often talk about this, when I was talking to people about the role and that they were looking at me, 80% of people said to me, are you mad? Why would you take that role, Anne? And it's called benevolent bias. And this is everywhere, where people that care about you and love you think they're helping you. It's like parents with their children, but they're actually holding you back. And thank God I didn't listen to them. Because I said it was like training for a marathon for a year. And you're 100 metres from the finish line on race day and they say to you, don't bother finishing. Why would you finish? Like I'd been training all my life for this role and the opportunity had come up. And of course I had the questions about whether I would be successful and whether I was good enough. But when I sat down, I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'll go into the role and 6 months or 8 months into it, either I won't enjoy it, or 2, I won't be good enough and they'll say, that didn't work out, but I've learned something in that 6 or 8 months. So this is about the leaning in and about seizing the opportunity. And I did. And it's been the best thing I've ever done. Because as CEO, you have the influence and the platform and the power to make real positive societal change and a platform to do good. Also a platform to surround yourself with really the best people and do the right thing for your company, your people and the society and the communities that we work in. So it has been a dream come true.
We often hear, and I've read quite a lot about impostor syndrome, which is, so common, particularly with women when they get to a certain level. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to get found out any second now. Did you have an ounce of that, or were you just self-aware in that I could fail or I could succeed?
I think everyone has impostor syndrome. I think women, though, articulate it honestly and too honestly. So I've known from mentoring and sponsoring women and saying, I want you to go for the job. They'll go, oh my God, please no, not me, I'll fail, I only have 70%. While I think men probably do have it, but they don't articulate it, or maybe they're leaning in or being a bit braver, okay? So when I got offered that job, of course I questioned, am I really going to be good enough? Am I really going to be successful? Is this going to work out? And I think it's natural for women and people to have that, but you have to be brave and you have to be courageous and you have to go for it with an open mind, understanding that you have to learn and you don't have all the answers and that you're curious and that you will develop. And I'm sure I'm a much better CEO now than when I started 6 years ago, and it's been a learning and developing, but it's been a true privilege.
And have mentors and role models played a big part in where you are now? And do you still have people that you can turn to for guidance, or does it get harder when you're CEO?
No, I still have mentors and sponsors and people I ask for advice. I think it's really important, no matter what level you get, in case you lose your self-awareness. No, I'm constantly reaching out. I mean, humility is very important in leadership. And I think if you lose that, you have an issue. So no, I have people and I'm constantly asking them. I mean, you don't have to take the advice, but you do have to listen and see what they say, because sometimes they're coming from a perspective that you mightn't have considered. And I think self-awareness is huge. And then I don't lose the run of myself, being from Cork, think I'm too important. No, I'm always learning.
Well, I was going to ask, what kind of leader are you? Would you say, would your team reflect those sentiments back towards you?
I think my team would say I am very driven. Yeah, I am very energetic. I love big challenges. I'm very motivated and inspired by the next thing, whether that's 5G or NB-IoT or society or the connecting for good. I just love it. So I feel very purpose-led, and that's what motivates me. Ethics and values and doing right by our customers. So, I think that is what motivates me, and I think my people see that as a leader. You will rarely hear me talking about things like profit for profit's sake. I will talk about, when we're making decisions on anything, product, pricing, launches, what is the right thing to do? What's the long-term sustainable thing to do? So I think they'd see me as collaborative. It's all about the team. We all fail or we all win.
You're very visible as a CEO. Was that a conscious decision, or is it something that just came as Vodafone were doing more and more exciting things? You had more launches to go to, more photo calls, that sort of thing?
Again, I think it's part of my role. I think we do amazing things, and I think it's important that we talk about them externally. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I am asked by people, and I feel kind of a moral duty and obligation to do that, especially to younger women, because they say you can't be what you can't see, and that women don't have female role models. So, if I can just inspire that one or two in the classroom, or when they go to I Wish or one of these things, to think I can do honours maths or physics, or I can be in technology and I don't need to be a nerd. So I feel a duty in terms of that as well. So it is part of me to use my platform for good, and that I don't look back when I'm 65 and said that I was CEO of a really huge company that did amazing things and I was a role model, and I didn't use it for good. Another
partnership that I know you're very proud of is with the Irish rugby team. So talk to me a little bit about that, because again, this is another thing that's just more than the logo on the shirt.
Yeah, so obviously investing in sport, it's a wonderful opportunity to do that. Again, I think it's important that big brands and big companies do that. So the partnership has been wonderful. I mean, they are a lovely organisation to work with. They are heroes, everyone in that team, to young boys and girls in terms of how they play, how they act, the educational attainment that they have, the professionalism that they have. So really, we obviously having our logo on their shirt is excellent, but it's really about trying to show who they are, where they come from, whether it's Tig Furlong from his farm, etc., that they're all from different backgrounds, and that irrespective of who you are, you can play sport and represent your country and become an idol and create these wonderful followerships.
And I know sport plays a big part in your personal life as well. You do triathlons like I do the weekly shop, like you're pretty dedicated to it. How do you find the time, and why is it so important to you?
Well, I think for me to perform at my level in work, I kind of say you have to be like a corporate athlete. Okay, there's the work part, but you need a good physical and mental and emotional well-being, and exercise gives you that. And for me to be at my best, to think well, to deal with the setbacks and challenges in business, you really need to be in a good place. So exercise allows me to do that. So getting out on my bike on a Sunday, going up the Wicklow Mountains, there is nothing better to get those happy endorphins, see the beautiful scenery, get air. On a Saturday, I like to run. I ran 8K on Saturday along the water in Dun Leary, you know, just peace of mind. And then I went to yoga to stretch out and calm me down. And during the week, you know, I swim in the pool now. I'll get back into the water soon. There's nothing like the seawater to really make you feel good. So that is the way I lead my life, because I know I'm better when I exercise.
And so is that your main method then for shutting down? Because I'd say you've got a million events in a week, a million emails in a week. Your brain could probably get pretty busy.
Absolutely. So the exercise is, and sleep. I mean, I really do need to get ideally 7 hours sleep, ideally 7 to 8 hours. And I really do make sure I get sleep. Like, I go to bed exhausted and I wake up full of energy, like this morning, Monday morning, and ready to take on the day and to take on life. But of course, exercise helps you sleep. It's all of it, you know, and then it helps you eat better. So I try to watch, you know, to a certain degree. I love food, you know, watch that I don't drink too much, and eat well, eat protein, you know, make sure I balance, not too much sweets or sugar, but not an angel either.
That's good to hear. I can't let you go without asking about your recent trip to the White House.
Oh, yes.
So go on.
So as just the immediate past president of Dublin Chamber, the Dublin Chamber, Northern Ireland Chamber, went with Leo Varadkar and members of government for Paddy's Week, and it was the Shamrock ceremony, and it was showing the importance with Brexit coming up of North-South business relations and how joined up we are in terms of the economic benefits of us working together. And it was wonderful. Firstly, I went to a lot of events, business events, seeing the Irish over there, Irish Americans, and seeing the amount of business. IDA were there, Enterprise Ireland, and the great close relationships between America and Ireland. So we, you know, went to various events, heard from different speakers talking about that, and the White House itself. I mean, it's a magnificent building. Inside, it's stunning. They lay out, you know, beautiful food, all done with green and shamrocks, like the intricacy. It was nearly, you'd be afraid to touch it. And then, of course, we were addressed by President Trump and our Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, talking about those strong relationships and the importance of Ireland-America relationships. So I think you forget how many Irish we have there, and how great it is, and how we need to continue to build on that, and the investment of American companies in Ireland, and the jobs that they create, and the opportunities for people that comes from that.
Finally, if we, like we've talked about your life from Cork to today, what do you want your legacy to be?
I think I'd like people to look back and say that while I was CEO of Vodafone, that I did good, that I, you know, represented gender and the importance of it, causes like the policies that we've put in place, whether it's the world-class maternity or paternity policies, the flexible working. I mean, the most recent domestic abuse and violence policy. I mean, we're hearing and reading more and more about femicide, and that 1 in 5 women in Ireland are affected by domestic abuse and violence. And for me, encouraging other companies to do the same, to recognise the issue, so that people can be trained in work, that women can come and talk about this issue and be fully supported with time off, with advance in salary, with setting up a bank account, with full support. So I'd like people to think that I did touch their lives and I did make a difference. And, you know, because I sometimes meet women who have been in positions and they say they should have done more. And I really don't want to say that. And that it's good for Ireland, good for women, and good for business and the environment that we live in.
Anna Leary, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess.